So we don't hear a lot about benzos and what does that mean in the addiction world and how incredibly difficult it is to find recovery in this area. It's important that we talk about it. When we talk about these things, we're not glorifying anything, but we're trying to educate so that we can maybe save one more life. And that's what this is all about, so that they can find Jesus, find healing, find recovery, sobriety, find life. Today, I'm honored that we get to have a great conversation, hear a story from a dear brother in Christ that's walked through the recovery journey through benzos and his courage to come share that with us today. Welcome to Celebrate Recovery Official, a podcast that shares life-change stories, courage, hope, and leadership wisdom, all centered around the Celebrate Recovery principles based on the Beatitudes of Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus gives us practical tools and guides us through practical ways to face our hurts so that we can address those hang-ups, maybe the ways we see ourselves, God, and others in our circumstances in negative ways, and the habits that might be picked up as a way to confirm those nasty beliefs that always cause havoc on the relationships with others and our fellowship with God. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with drugs and alcohol and perfectionism. My name is Rodney. I'm the Global Field Director with Celebrate Recovery. It's good to be back with you guys today. I'm excited for today's topic. It takes a lot of courage to share your story, let alone on a podcast, and I'm grateful for my brother coming into the space to share his story. Keith, glad to have you here, man. Introduce yourself. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, my name's Keith, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who struggle with anxiety and addiction to a doctor-prescribed drug.
Awesome, man. Glad you're here, bro. So, man, obviously, benzos is kind of the heart of what we're trying to educate people, but I'd love to kind of frame it through, give us a picture of your life as it specifically ties to that, kind of what brings you to the table having this conversation, man.
Yeah, I was the pastor's kid and also the teacher's kid, and everywhere I went, they were there, and very loving, warm home that I grew up in, and very involved in athletics and with my family as the youngest in the family. And, my senior year of college was just thinking, man, I'm a bit anxious. I don't know if I'm going to graduate on time, and I'm not sure if I can. And then the thought started snowballing, like, well, if I don't graduate on time, I'm not going to be able to provide for a wife, get a job. It starts snowballing to where I won't be able to provides for someone that I'd like to eventually get married, and it just would snowball. And life was always really good until then. And I was a kid that never drank alcohol. And my first sip of it was when I was like 22, with the straight and narrow, and went to a doctor's office, and he said, hey, how about this Xanax? And that's when it started on Xanax. And then, in a nutshell, was on that for about a year and a half or 2 years. And then one of the top doctors in Dallas put me on clonazepam, which is another benzo. It's different. And so switched me from Xanax to clonazepam, and Klonopin is the other word for it. And so I was on that. And for a couple of years afterwards, I remember talking to him saying, hey, you think I'm going to have to be on this the rest of my life? And he said, you've done so well on it, you probably will. It was just, it wasn't all horrible, but a lot of the journey, it was more a looping of anxiety throughout the day instead of that normal loop that someone does in their life throughout the week of a Monday through Sunday.
Yeah. So, man, give me some of the you kind of hit on that a little bit, kind of the anxiety. What's some of the cost of that, just having that regularly in your system? What were you experiencing? What was that like for you, man? Just to give us a picture of that. Because you said, I never abused it, right? You were using it as prescribed, but it sounds like over time it kind of had a detrimental effect on you to maybe I need to do something different. Can you kind of give us a picture of what were the indicators for that?
Again, it's that pattern of realizing, and I bought into the the thoughts that, oh, I do have a chemical imbalance. You know, I have to have this drug to be able to function because I'm that oddball that has the chemical imbalance to be able to function at a high capacity without the assistance of, you know, a substance. And what that does to you is what the drug does is, again, you know, a normal loop of anxiety is just this big loop throughout the week. That's normal. That's healthy.
Yeah.
Anxiety is healthy. It keeps us alive. But when you're looping that kind of loop about 2-3 times a day, it's not beneficial at all, even towards me and towards other people in my life.
So what did that look like? How was that affecting you? What would I see happening around you or in you if I was watching you from afar? I'm not sleeping well, or kind of give me a picture of some of those symptoms that what that would look like practically.
Yeah, it's to where basically fear is kind of ruling your life. And you would, you know, there were times in my 20s that I was a really high producer at a high capacity in a really good industry, but I lived my life though to where I could have probably taken more risk and didn't. And, you know, professionally, as well as even been probably a better companion too, because that can wear on somebody. The more that you are anxious and living your life in that loopy cycle, so to speak, throughout the day, you wake up in the morning and anxiety is just crushing you until you get that pill in you, and it's a little bit better, but you still have it, and it's not healthy at all. It's just not.
Yeah, well, and maybe you can speak into this. 'Cause, I mean, you're educating our audience. So we talk about dependence a lot with just drugs in general. You have this level that you need to sustain. Did the increase in the need grow for you, so that wasn't working anymore, so I needed to take more? You were still taking it prescribed, but did the doctor up it? I mean, what did that look like for
What's
you?
crazy with me is that it was the same amount for 23 years, the same dosage. And you know, when you finally look back at your life and the pattern that you've kind of lived in fear, so to speak, that you start realizing, hey, this thing is really affecting me in a big way. And what's the toughest thing about it too is realizing, hey, I can't even just go on a vacation and leave these pills at home. They got to come with me.
Full dependence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, within 5 hours, you're withdrawing.
Yeah. Well, and as I'm sitting here listening to you, man, it might be good to kind of back up for a second and educate us on what benzos are. What's the goal of a benzo? What are they there for? What is that? Can you just kind of in layman's terms for our listeners? You obviously went and said, I need this. What is its goal? What is its role that was trying to play in your life, in your words?
Yeah, the goal is when a benzo is in your system, you know, some people call them chill pills, you know, and the truth is that, and believe it or not, it does affect the brain exactly the same part of the brain that alcohol affects. And so when you have that benzo in you, you start realizing, hey, it's not as hard as it's gonna be as I thought.
Yeah,
you know, life is a little bit easier when you do take it. And you know, it's beyond me how, I know some people are, you know, possible, not all. There's some really great physicians out there, and I have a really good one. And it's not bashing them, because some can be just ignorant about the drug, but
yeah. So there's a lot of emotion that comes up in that space, right? Just thinking about your story. And man, how long have you been in CR now?
Oh gosh, well, I started even about 20 years.
20 years in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
In our CR here in Northwest Arkansas, how long?
Oh gosh, I mean, I would say probably about 6-7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm thinking about the first time I met you and just how different you look and act and your mannerisms, everything, and how black and white it is from this to this and where you are today. Man, give me a picture. Obviously, you tried CR 20 years ago in Dallas. Wasn't the right time. Didn't fit? What was the deal there?
Well, I wasn't forced to by God yet.
Yeah.
Bend
your knees for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're withdrawn on benzos, I'm telling you, you're gonna do anything you can to find that community, with some people you can trust and have community.
So you weren't necessarily trying to get off of them when you went to CR 20 years ago.
No.
So you just went to CR. It's like, well, this would be kind of cool. Maybe I can go deal with this other issue.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave this other issue over here off the table. I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you start, motivation, God kind of bends your knees in that space. Full dependence on him from full dependence on benzos, right? Mm-hmm. So your body is revolting. Mm-hmm. Man, give me a picture of that, because I've heard different descriptions on that of what your body is doing in that space. I've heard this with opioids, right? It's like a severe case of flu. It feels like your body literally will die if it doesn't have this. What was your body doing as it was trying to come off of that? And why did you try to come off of it, by the way?
I came off of it because I knew finally in my own head too. I was like, I'm a captive of this. There's no way I can live my life without it. And I finally was convinced it's not good for me. It's just not. And it was time to finally do it. I remember thinking in my head, I don't want to be 70-something, 80-something years old at a nursing home and them not knowing anything and just taking me off, because that's happened to people. And I didn't want to be in that spot. And I thought, this is the time to do it. And
so you just made a decision.
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very unusual, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, usually there's some catastrophic events, loss, a lot of wreckage around us before we finally say, gosh, I got to do something right. But you just kind of came to that kind of the end of yourself and going, I don't want to be that guy. I'm going to take a step. And that must have been scary.
Yeah, absolutely scary. Yeah. Because I had for 23 years, I only had it out of my system one day.
Wow.
So, yeah.
23 years, one day. So tell me, actually, I'm going to take a super quick break, because this is fascinating. I want to hear kind of 23 years of using benzos and you one day off of it. And now you're on the route to try to detox from that. That's a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this is compelling for our listeners. I appreciate your heart, man. I'm going to take a super quick break. Talking to Keith, talking about his battle with benzos and coming off of that and sharing courageously his story. So stick with me. I'll be right back and continue the conversation. Hey, friends, did you know that we have an online open share meeting every single Wednesday at noon Pacific? And as people from all over the world gather, we hear a little devotional, testimony, and then we break up into gender-specific groups so that we can walk through this healing process and share and listen and grow. If you'd like to be a part of that every week, Wednesdays, noon Pacific, go to celebraterecovery.com, find the link, and we'd love to have you join us this week. You'll be glad that you did. Add this to your arsenal of meetings. It'll be worth it. All right, so right before the break, Keith, we were talking about just 23 years and now one day removed. What's happening to you, man? Give me a picture.
Well, it was actually like day 2, day 3, and that's when it started kicking in, and it was absolutely insane. I had about 85 different symptoms.
Wow.
And what's crazy is that the people that have been on them for a while and get off, they're all the same symptoms.
What are some of those? You don't have to go through all 85.
Yeah, right. I know. It was, if my skin touched something cold, I was freezing shard cold.
Yeah.
If I was by the campfire out there, my skin was burning.
Yeah.
It was pure agony, and the recovery is so slow, you don't notice it until you look back 3 months and you go, whoa, okay, I'm doing this now. And neuropathy is what's happening.
Wow.
It was insane. I was in Southern Cal, and I was at a treatment center there, and blessed by some guys there, and that were recovered, by the way, from their alcohol detox in 2 weeks. or less. So 1 week, and I'm sitting there 30 days later, the same day as day one.
Well, let me jump in there because you and I talked about this, and I hadn't really thought about it, but treatment centers aren't necessarily aimed at addressing this specific issue, right?
Not at all.
Talk about that, right? That's a challenge in itself, right?
Yes.
You got guys in there with substance abuse or whatever, and you're coming in with benzos, and there's not a whole lot of being equipped to handle this. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and their system and ecosystem is what I say is that it's designed for someone in a way to recover faster. Now, even the gentleman that I went that placed me there actually is a friend of his brother's a very close friend of mine since college, and he recovered himself from methadone 15 years ago. And methadone is about 5-6 months recovery as well, to where benzos 9 to a year. Sadly, some people 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're walking in there, all these guys are recovering from alcohol, opioids. I mean, you're seeing all kinds of different meth or whatever, and you're coming in, you're seeing 2 weeks, guys are seeing significant progress, and you're going, what the heck?
Right.
I missed the train here, right? Your body's still experiencing significant withdrawals. What's happening for you?
I didn't sleep for a month straight. I mean, I slept 30 minutes to maybe an hour.
Wow.
You can imagine the agony you're going through during that, and you're not even resting. You're not even asleep. Your mind's not asleep.
It's just going and going. You can't shut it down?
Absolutely. No, there's absolutely no way to shut it down. And I remember too, trying to read, scripture on peace, peace that passes all understanding. And you're like,
I don't know what that is.
I have no idea what that is. Right.
Wow.
And so, you just kind of learn too that we got to be careful as Christians too to not try and say, "Oh, it's a spiritual." It
can be shaming, right?
It can be it can be shaming.
Well, and that can be a form of spiritual abuse.
Yeah,
right. When we're throwing scripture at someone that your brain, your body was incapable of experiencing that, right?
Correct.
And so I love that you said that. We have to be aware of that. So how long did it take to get it out of your system? I mean, you're watching these other guys getting their stuff out, but you're still in it. You can't sleep. Man, that's exhausting, just making me tired hearing it, right? How long did it take where you finally started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel going, okay, there's progress happening here?
Right. I think it took about, I could say it took about 6 to 9 months. I would say this, 4 months or 5 months afterwards, I was on the plane making myself do things that were really hard, and went on a business trip. Went to 3 different states in 1 week.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to fake it till you make it to yourself. Your brain hears what you say. Your brain will hear really what you're thinking.
Right.
And that's not going to be easy in the beginning at all, but it slowly does get better. And so, I can remember I constantly was calling my FaceTime on my family, getting their encouragement a lot during the day, constantly. And when you're dealing with someone like me at that time, the best thing you can do is have a lot of grace and a lot of patience and a lot of listening is what you need to do. Yeah.
Well, it just emphasizes the power and importance of community, starting with our family, right?
Absolutely.
Because you have how many kids?
I've got twins.
Yeah.
Yep.
And huge in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So they were a big part of that motivation.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I've seen you with them, just seen your heart with them, man. So Celebrate Recovery is a part of this journey with you, man. Even being here 6 years. How's Celebrate Recovery come alongside you in just the community that is Celebrate Recovery? Obviously, Jesus in the center. For our listeners, and here's the reality, somebody maybe listening is right in the middle of an addiction with benzos, and they are having doubts, like, I don't know about this, right? What was the impact of the ministry of Celebrate Recovery in this healing journey for you, man? What'd that look like?
I loved it because, for a pastor's kid like me, I've seen the good and the bad and the ugly of the church. I've seen it all. It doesn't mean, and I love the church still, despite its imperfections. But I loved it because it was a place I could go to, and there's no facade. Everybody is being real and being who they are, and you can't hide from that. And but the love is there too. And I tell you what, the love like I was shown by friends, like by Nick and Kenny. Those guys were patient with me. They were there for me. I remember being here, and Nick would bring me meals, to eat, and we'd be sitting there talking. Yeah, his eyeballs were real big. Like, I don't know really how to help this guy out.
What do I do?
This is kind of freaking me out. I don't know what to say. I remember these faces too. I don't forget them.
Yeah, they're locked in.
They're locked in. Like, I don't know how to help this crazy guy. And I laugh about it now, but it was scary and painful during it. And, but to always be able to come to a place. And I remember when I came, when I got back from Southern Cal and I came here and I saw you, and I was like 3.5 months off, and I was shaking, and you're like, oh, you're in the thick of it. And I was like, I still am,
Yeah.
But it was just good to have a safe place to come to and meet people and pray together.
Well, I love that picture. And it's good for our listeners, especially if Nick, that was not his story, right?
Right.
And yet he knew how to just be present with you.
Right.
And just the presence, the gift of presence in that space.
Oh, yeah.
So Celebrate Recovery, the components of, you're in that general meeting with worship and hearing truth, and you're in open share, the community aspect of meeting with guys. Give me a picture of just the experience through that, man. How's that a part of this healing process for you, man?
I think it's healing because when you go and you do share time, with the fellow guys and stuff, it's just guys that are honestly just being honest about their life. Again, it's sad that we can't live life that way, to where we're just being honest about our happiness, that we're happy about life, but also our imperfections and things in our life that are not good. And you can't live, unfortunately, in this world, you can't live life. Sometimes you can, but it's just hard to live life that way.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to come and just relax around brothers. And when you're coming and sharing, every week, that type of thing too, you hear yourself getting better. I don't care what anybody really says. I noticed that about me.
You experience it, yeah.
Yes. And it was a place I could be honest. It was a place of encouragement. It was also a place I was able to pour into others. I was able to forget about myself a little bit and help others, which is something that I've learned is big in my life now. It's gratitude and helping others when you can. And I can remember a guy being at CR, and he was 5 years on cocaine, and he was 10 days off. And I told him what God had done through me, and his eyes were big as saucers after that. And he was like, how did you? And I was like, and I told him I got the bracelet still on me. I had it ever since Southern Cal at that treatment center, and it stands for 1 day at a time. And I told him that. I was like, it's 1 day at a time. It's 1 minute at a time in the beginning. It's 1 hour at a time in the beginning.
Wow.
But eventually it's 1 day at a time, and then it spreads out and it gets easier.
Wow. Man, yeah. So on the other side of this, right, and it's a daily battle, right? We're until Christ comes back, we're all in recovery, right?
Right.
But you're miles ahead of where you were, man. Tell me about your life today, man, on the other side of this. What's that look like?
I tell you what, now, to me, I feel like I can accomplish anything I set my mind to now. I have normal fear, normal anxiety in life like other people have, but I don't let it dictate me. One thing when I notice when you get off of benzos and you're recovering pretty well, you learn how to regulate your emotions, which you haven't really done most of your life, really, as far as when it comes to fear. And so now I'll still have anxiety, but at the same time, I recognize that and I know what it is. Again, it's the most empowering thing I've ever gone through, and one thing I had to go through in life was really hard was divorce. But you know what? Kicking benzos through the love of others and help of God and through time and patience is, again, the most empowering thing I've ever done. And so life now to me is a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm able to live my life and be there for others. A good friend told me this, 2 years ago or so. And he said, the best thing I can tell you is forget about yourself and go help somebody else. And that was very impactful.
It's been big in your life.
show our gratitude and thankfulness to others in any way we can, because that's what makes our life even more meaningful and tolerable and more fulfilling.
Yeah. Speaking of that, helping someone else out, man, I'm just kind of moved thinking about somebody has shared this podcast, listening to part of your story, and I appreciate your heart, man. And they're in the middle of that. They're Keith of 20 years ago.
Right.
Man, struggling, maybe feeling hopeless, defeated. What do you say to that guy? You've got their ear, that gal, they've got their ear right here and they're listening to your voice. What do you say to them to encourage them to take steps toward this recovery journey, man?
Is to be gracious to themselves, and try and do the things that are hard to do. Because when you're doing that and exercising those muscles, so to speak, not physical, but also muscles in every other manner you can think of, to keep doing that. And to what I would tell myself, 16 and a half months back was, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done, but I can promise you, you keep breathing in and breathing out and moving forward and doing necessary steps to make your life better. I don't care if it's even getting a Tempur-Pedic mattress for health, or taking vitamins, which I take 10 a day, or to get into the gym, which is not easy in the beginning, getting to the gym.
Yeah.
But also, spiritually, have some patience on yourself when you're going through that, because I can promise you God is.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to tell yourself when you're going through it, because you feel like you've messed up your entire life. And when you're in the thick of it, those 85 symptoms, but know that through time, you will look back months later after you have encouragement and patience from others around you in your life, as well as with yourself. You're going to be in a better spot, and you're going to be a more an empowering person. It's the hardest thing you're going to do, but I promise you, you did it one day at a time, that you're going to get through it. And all your other family, everyone around you is going to see it too. And it's a beautiful thing.
Wow. I love that, man. Such a hope message that you just gave there, man. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it, right?
Absolutely.
And I love that you said that, show myself grace. And I'm just thinking in Romans 2, it says it is God's kindness that leads to repentance. You could say to change, to growth, to healing. If that's God's strategy, can I show myself kindness, grace, compassion to my own change and healing and growth? How can I invite God into this to experience his kindness and grace, and how can I show that to myself? Man, you got an incredible story, bro, and it's so courageous to come in and share. I'm grateful for you, man. I know you've blessed our listeners, but thanks for who you are, man. And I'm not blowing smoke when I say this. You literally are a different man than the man I met that first time you walked in. I don't recognize you. And it's kind of that tongue in cheek. I don't even know who you are anymore.
Right.
But in all sincerity, grateful for the man that you are, the dad that you are. You love them well, and you're doing it, and you're fighting, and I'm proud of you, man. Keep going, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Rodney.
Yeah. I hope that you guys are as encouraged as I am. Man, what a story. And if you want more information about this, feel free to reach out to me. Lucky to have this brother in my backyard, and I know that he would love to talk to you and share more insights on his story if you're needing some encouragement. But there is hope, even for people struggling with benzos. God has the power. It's hard, it's difficult, but it's worth it. And I hope you feel encouraged to take that first step. Hey, thanks so much, as always, for joining me on this road and listening. And I pray that you will join me next time. Until then, God bless you guys. Have a wonderful week.